Yeah. Okay. I wanted to get into this because Spenny had the question. He said, "Do you believe Steve Yzerman will make an addition at the deadline?"
Steve at the line.
And yesterday, obviously, we saw the Dallas Stars kind of make a move. And
I'm strong enough now. Do you believe in Steve at the line? Yeah. Can he make a trade that's worth something without giving up his future guy? Anyways.
All right. No, but all right. So here's the deal, guys. And I've heard this around town, and I've heard others in this industry that are in this town that do this, that flat out pound the table and say Steve Yzerman needs to make a move. He's got to strike. He's got to strike. He's got to do something now. I've heard people pound the table and say Brad Holmes has to go out and make this huge move in free agency. Guys, I wanted to tell you all this, all right? Sports has changed. I know it's been a decade since we've been relevant in anything, so maybe this has passed us by. But you know how things work now? Things work the way Brad Holmes does it. Things work the way Steve Yzerman does it. A, you know how I know? A, you see it playing out right now. And B, when you look around, how do you get good in sports now, especially when you've been bad? Do you just roll out and spend $150 million on 3 free agents? No, that's proven time after time after time. It doesn't work. I know it's not sexy, and I know not everybody, we've been so fantasy draft conditioned. I know it doesn't get you clicks, and it doesn't get people to tune in and stuff like that. But guys, again, I've always said, I'm going to be honest with you. This is how it works now. This is how it works. Draft capital, draft picks, replenishing your roster, keeping it rolling. That's the way it goes. Draft picks are valuable. Everybody, cap space is valuable. I know you don't want to hear that. Like, that's not fun. I understand that. But that is the way that it works. Look around. The Kansas City Chiefs, for instance, and everyone will say, well, look at Mahomes, big dollars, and look at Travis Kelce, big dollars. How did the Chiefs win the Super Bowl? How did they do it? Last 2 years.
They let one of their best guys go that they didn't think they needed, Tyreek Hill, and they re-signed and paid for the Chris Jones and stuff like that, their guy, but through the draft. Everybody else,
their secondary,
yeah.
Which is all what? Draft picks and homegrown. That's how you win, everybody. That's how you win. I know it's not sexy and you don't like it, but I'm sorry, I got nothing else to offer you.
You know what, the one thing I think, and this is, you'll be proud of me, because I learned this from you, is the consistency, what Brad Holmes and Steve Yzerman realized before any of us does. Now it's more second nature, but you got to get the books right first, right? If you don't get your books right first, make it then going through the draft and doing all this and having a game plan really doesn't matter. Then you're just sort of plugging and playing, and all these free agents that we see some other teams sign, you're still in that position. So what did both these guys do? Pretty much sacrificed a year or two and panning it out, right? Like, as far as saying, okay, now I can move forward. So like demolishing and cleaning out, the basement level, instead of just building the floor up, they cleaned it out. They both did. And you've made it more apparent because now they can move forward. Now they don't have bad contracts. Now they have the choice, like Brad Holmes does, to re-sign his own guys or whatever. Now he's getting more into the meat and potatoes of it. But Steve Yzerman, that's what he's done. Look at this roster. When we talk wings later, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show all of you something, which is the most transparent. When I saw it this morning, I was like, wow. Smack me in the face. But that's what's happening. And these guys are building for these guys. The one thing you have to listen to, they don't give a shit what we think, right? They're building it the way they want. When it comes to Steve Yzerman and the Chris Tanev, we're sitting here going, is this a guy that could help us? Yes. Is this going to be our guy? Steve says, no. Okay, move on. He's probably got another guy, or the guy's here. Brad Holmes the same way. How confident are you, GM, right? Coming off of last season, you got the draft here. You got all eyes on you and your team coming up at this draft. And you come out with all the confidence in the world saying, I could trade out. I don't, I got to do what's best for the team. Full grasp of what he needs to do. To me, that's what it is. So wherever the money goes from these guys making the decision, I don't care.
My point of it is this. Anybody that pounds a table and says, you have to go get Daniil Hunter, or you have to go make a big move if you're Brad Holmes, or if you're Steve, you have to make a big trade. You don't believe that. I'm of that opinion. Like, you honestly don't believe that, because look at all the data that you've been presented with. It's going just fine. And if you want to say like, well, Neil, you're just, you're a Brad Holmes lemming or stuff like that. Like, what more data do you need? For real, what more data do you need?
Who else are you going to be a lemming for than Brad Holmes and Steve Yzerman? It's like, God bless. They have the game plan to the fact that here's the one thing, Neil. What do I always say? Steve Yzerman's going to give you exactly what you want when he wants to. These guys are on their own, whether it's the Lions, whether it's the Red Wings, whatever it is.
Paul Thomas, WoodwardSports.com chat thread. We need one more defenseman, in my opinion, to help Sider, like a Simon Edvinsson type. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. You guys are right. But do you not think that who knew that before any of us? Steve Yzerman and Brad Holmes and Steve Yzerman. Here's the thing. They're not in a hurry to make a move. They're in a hurry to make the right move. That's exactly what it is. So you know what? We can have as much impatience as fans as we want, and we can talk about this and run around with our chickens with our head cut off. Ain't going to change what's going on there. And the sooner you realize that, then you can worry about something else.
So, Spenny, I go to you.
Yeah.
And again, you're on both sides of this coin. You are. You're on both sides of the coin.
I'm playing both sides, so I always come out on top.
But and that's a smart man. That's a smart man that does that.
Yeah.
But you're one of the few reasonable people of that side. Mm-hmm. You'll listen and you'll talk and you'll conversate and stuff like that. When you hear me say what I just said there, what goes through your mind?
I mean, I agree with it for sure with Steve Yzerman. With the Brad Holmes one, I was expecting a move because I thought they were right there for the Super Bowl, and so you make a move to enhance your odds for that. That's why I was so upset by it. The Steve Yzerman one, no, I have full and utmost faith in Stevie and what he's doing. If he doesn't make a move, he's not going to make a move. And you look at the defensemen we have in the prospect pool, whether it's Edvinsson or Johansson or Wallander or Pelinka, like those guys are all going to be good. And obviously they're all not going to work out because that's not just how hockey works. Like, you're not going to go 4 for 4 on great defensive prospects you got down there, but they all look like they're going to be pretty damn good. They're all big. They all could do a lot of things, and Edvinsson could come up right now and be a jolt to this team.
Hey, Spenny, here, I'm going to, for everybody else, because who brought it up? Silky Johnson, I think, brought it up. Axel Pelkin, the Swedish kid that we drafted first round last year, defenseman.
He's a freak.
So there's your guy, right? You don't need the tandem guy. Like, yes, next year, like, you got a bunch of guys, and I think it's the confidence in their development.
Sparkman, Sneed for a second would be great though. But David, you got to remember, man, like it's not just that. So when you do a move like that, and maybe he is, and maybe Brad Holmes values him this way, but in that scenario, you're giving up $100 million, maybe more, and the second round pick. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that value? Mm-hmm. Is that value in the move? For real, is it value? And that's the question. And like, sure, I know what PFF says and all that kind of stuff. But again, going back to it, is Brad better served with that second round pick and $100 million of cap space, which in reality could pay for your entire draft class the next 6 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, really think about it.
And isn't it a question too, right? This might be a question if you haven't hit on draft picks in the past, like you don't have that track record of drafting guys and them being able to come in and play. And the big thing, Neil, that it's the money, right? It's that rookie contract. That's the big sell. So the fact that that's got to come into play to Brad Holmes. So it's not as easy as this, I want this player and I'll spend this money and stuff like that. So again, you got to trust in the guy. He hits on draft picks, so let him cook.